This is Kojo. Feeling quite happy, as you can tell by the sound of my voice right now. This is the 3inMidfield podcast, episode 232. And if I'm going to do this correctly, I'm going to have to because he scored 2 goals yesterday. So the title of this show is Your Defense is in Trouble and Ketia's in the room. Let's get started. Okay, I'll be a bit more enthusiastic than that. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. I am, of course, your host, Kojo, as I said before, and I am joined by 3 lovely people, 3 lovely guests. We'll start with the debutant first. We have 2 people who are, at this point, honorary members of the show. So we're going to start with the debutant first. He is a fellow Man United fan of mine. I needed backup for today because if I didn't get him, I would have got absolutely roasted. But I think I'm going to get roasted anyway. Mick, how you doing, bro?
Very good, thank you. After yesterday's loss, I said earlier today that I never do a reaction show. I need to sleep on it. So I woke up fresh, thought about it, cleared all the clouds, created a blue sky, and thought about it. And to be honest, pretty all right, because we were never expected to go to an hostile Emirates, who, by the way, Arsenal haven't lost a home game ever this season to take a point. We almost got there. We rattled them a little bit. We disrupted the game plan in 20 minutes. We were combative. And who scored first? Marcus Rashford. Yay. So I'm quite happy in the overall performance, Kojo. But to concede on the 90th minute is just like, you know what I mean? It's 3 minutes left. To give an analogy, it's like, you're going around against Mike Tyson. Of course, if you sort of lose your concentration, you're going to get knocked down. And this happened in the 12th round. And it is what it is. I'm a realist. What says on the scoreboard is what it is. Was it a VAR offside? Doesn't matter. The score is already decided. And big up to Arsenal for being where they are now. They were obviously a better team, right? So it is what it is, mate.
You are a better man than me. I would be shamelessly screaming it was offside if I was not hosting, but I am hosting, so I don't get that privilege. But of course, we're going to introduce other guests as well, and they are 2 very jubilant Arsenal fans. We will go ladies first because that's how you do gentlemanly stuff in this world. Colleen, how are you doing?
I'm amazing. You introduced this like you were on a desert island, like it was your 100th day on a vlog, sending a cheeky little update, hoping someone would see it. And Mick, very shameless, talking about Rashford got the first goal. No, I can be happy with that.
Yeah.
Listen, I just want to say a big RIP to your title race. It started in January 2023 and it ended in January 2023. And I think, Mick, you need to have a bit of Kojo's vibe. You need to be very down, out, just you're just not feeling it. That's the kind of vibe I want to feel from these 2 men over here. How are you doing? Because I'm doing amazing. You must be feeling as good as I am.
Oh, well, I thought Kojo was going to introduce me.
Kojo can be quiet. Kojo
taking over the show. What is going on here?
Colleen, it's 18 games to go. The ball is round and anything can happen. It's the Newton's law of gravity. What goes up must comes down. And what injury away from your squad and you'd be in trouble. You haven't played City yet, though. By the way. So let's see what happens.
Anyway.
How you doing, bro? You good? You good?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. I'll be a bit more respectful for now. As you can imagine, I think like with last time, I was quite surprised to be on at quite a good moment for Arsenal, and hopefully that can continue. Obviously, unfortunate that it was at the hands of you guys yesterday, but I'm sure we'll dig into why and how that happened.
Oh, we absolutely will. So we'll start with the most important news of the day. Frank Lampard got sacked, so that's where we're going to start.
Poor Lampy.
We'll come to you first. I thought it was a race between him and David Moyes anyway, so obviously he lost. Right decision for Everton?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is when it comes to these decisions you probably don't have as much time as you think you do. especially if what are we just a week and a day, I think, left in the transfer window. So I guess you saw it as well last year. I think he was appointed himself quite late on in the January window and managed to kind of scramble together Donny van der Beek on loan, Dele Alli on loan as well. I think if they're gonna have like ambitions of getting themselves as far away from the relegation zone as possible, then they didn't have much time to do anything. So it makes sense from Everton's perspective. But I guess the main thing is you have to get the right person in after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, apparently after Bielsa, Colleen's face straight away. He's like, Bielsa, you're not a fan of Bielsa? You're not feeling that?
No, I like Bielsa, but I just don't think he's what Everton need right now. They need a Big Sam type of coach coming in. But listen, I really like Everton. As a football club, I think they've got a lot of history. They're like a traditional Premier League, even first division club. So I have a real soft spot for them. So I would like for them to stay in the Premier League. And it's a bit sad what's happened to them because they should really be where West Ham were, where they were getting into like a semi-final of like a European competition. Like that's the kind of level that Everton should really be at and trying to push for a little bit further up, trying to break into that top 6, 7, 8. And it's just been a lot of poor management. And Frank Lampard, unfortunately for him, the writing was on the wall for a long time, and it's a difficult job. Whatever you may think of him as a coach, I just think it's a bit of a poison chalice at Everton at the minute. It's going to take someone with a lot of experience and know-how in terms of these kind of, a lot of investments gone into Everton. They don't have a lot of money to play with because they've put a lot into the players that have come in and the stadium. So they need a strong, experienced manager just to get them over the line and then reset, come for the next season, then come up with a proper short-term, medium-term plan.
Would you give them a Sean Dyche?
I think Sean Dyche would probably get the job done. I don't know how well that would be received over in Merseyside, but right now, actually, to be fair, I think they'll take anything to get over the line. I think I would like to see like a Nuno kind of character there, but I'm not sure he's going to be the kind of character to save them because right now they're flirting with relegation all over again. I think Sean Dyche could probably save them, but I don't think it's a long-term appointment that would keep, Evertonians happy, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, and if they are to fail staying up, just how big of a disaster would it be for Everton, considering we've seen teams like Leeds, Sunderland, Portsmouth falter badly, and only Leeds have recovered from that, really. But it took them a long time to recover for it. How disastrous do you potentially think it could be for Everton?
It's not a thing you want to flirt with. I mean, you could be a West Ham or a Newcastle where you've dropped down a couple of times and bounced back up straight away, but it's not something you want to play around with, especially when you look at the kind of characters in their squad, the kind of players, the age profiles as well, and the investment that's gone into it. It could be, especially financially, quite damaging for them than if it was to be another club. So you would think they'd bounce back up, but there's quite a few strong teams in that championship. It won't be an easy ride. So they better hope they don't have to pay a hard lesson and go down, like you said, like Leeds, and end up staying down for 20 odd years or something.
Yeah, it was that long, wasn't it? Bloody hell. Mick, we'll talk about another manager, David Moyes, who was saved by Jared Bowen, apparently for now anyway. But with West Ham as well, their form has been very, very poor this season. I can't even call it form. Form is a good thing. They're not in form. They're just completely out.
Comparing to last season, it's a big drop from being in 16th place at the moment. Yeah, but results. Unfortunately, football is a results business, right? So if you look at the last 5 games, you had 1 win, 3 losses, 1 draw in the last 5 games. So it's not comparable to Frank Lampard. You know what I mean? So I'm not a big advocate to sack a manager in the middle of January, right? Unless you are in the relegation and fighting. So if you go back to Frank Lampard, I can understand from a business perspective. But for Moyes, I think he's sitting quite all right at the moment, barring what he did last season, based on the results. So I don't see West Ham ever going to drop down deeper where they are now. I think they're going to climb out, and I think they're going to find the form. They have Declan Rice to carry as well. Obviously, he's been heavily linked to Arsenal also, as well. So he's struggling to sort of get hold of his squad currently to get the best tune out of him. But I think it's a slump of form. And as we know, football goes in cycles, so does form as well. So, yeah, I'm happy that he's safe at the moment, but a little bit sad for Frankie Lampard at the same time, because, it's not easy for a football manager, if he gets the sack or he got the sack. So, it's going to be hard for Frankie to come back and get another gig from now.
Yeah, well, me personally, those kind of managers that keep getting, I won't say keep, because he's had 2 Premier League jobs in Chelsea and Everton, and he was Derby manager in the Championship. I'm hoping that he goes away for a couple of years and actually works on his craft, sort of like what Eddie Howe did, because Eddie Howe ran out of steam at Bournemouth and just went away, sort of revised things, see how he went to train with different people, different coaches, worked out his game, and now you're seeing what he's doing with Newcastle. Again, it shows what I know about football. When Newcastle hired him, I was on this podcast slaughtering him, saying this guy should be.
Same.
There you go.
I was like, get out of here.
What is he doing there? Newcastle, really? And now
like that.
I'm level points with him. So really and truly, what do I know? But we'll go on to one game quickly, because really and honestly, it was a very poor affair. It was supposed to be a big game. Funnily enough, the 9th and 10th, Liverpool and Chelsea. Not much to really say about this, apart from this game kind of epitomized where they are in the season. So we'll move on from them. Bye-bye.
No Mudryk talk.
We'll talk about a guy that's starting to really, really, really annoy me. And as much as Colleen's happiness about Arsenal is jarring me, and the fact that if Arsenal win the league, it's going to get a million times worse, I think it would be absolutely hilarious if Man City signed Haaland to score all these goals and not win a Premier League title. But regardless, how annoyingly amazing is this guy? Because he's really on 4 Premier League hat-tricks.
Yeah, I think the big thing this season is you see Man City are just explosive in all areas. And I guess the contrast with, if you're looking at, I don't know whether I should call it a title race yet or not. I'm still looking to get that Europa League qualification.
Don't do that.
No. Don't do that.
You're top of the league. You're the race. You are the leaders of the race.
Okay. But I think what the contrast is you're seeing Arsenal spreading it out so much more. And obviously, Haaland's just this kind of prolific freak of a guy. And I think when you're watching him, you're just almost expecting him to score, and it's coming to a point now where the only benefit of him for anyone who isn't a Man City fan is FPL points. Just triple captain, but I think the almost inevitability of him makes Man City just an even bigger threat than they were, even when they didn't say last season when they were really comfortable. I think Arsenal slowly are getting players like that, like across the pitch. But I think when you're looking at them, he's obviously the guy that you're scared of most. And it's quite interesting to see, I guess, sometimes it's just that fear factor, I think, from opposition teams. You saw, I think it was his hat-trick goal, where Jose Sarr literally just passed it to a Man City player. And I don't think that happens if Haaland isn't playing. I know teams will press well, like Arsenal did against United yesterday. But I just feel like there's almost an extra element of, oh my God, that guy's there. What am I going to do with this? And it almost affects your decision making before you even put the ball at your feet. And I think that's probably the extra element that makes him a bit more annoying from a rival's point of view.
A question for both of you and Colleen. Are you fearful? Obviously, you haven't played them yet. So are you fearful that he could be on that day, or on those 2 days anyway, in crazy form? Or do we have belief that Saliba and Shaw, that's what it's called, is a Luke Shaw, can do a Luke Shaw on him and stop him scoring goals?
Should I go first or Colleen?
Go for it.
Maybe I'd say if you asked me that question a month ago, I would have said yes. I'd say maybe not fear. I can't think of another word right now. Maybe wary. Because he has gone through games where he hasn't scored, like the Brentford game, a few, obviously the United game as well. I help you guys out with that one. But I think the way Arsenal set up defensively is so aggressive that if they get it right, then they should have a good foothold in that game to not just deal with him, but obviously contain what Manchester City can do as well. So I think it's more a wariness of, okay, if Arsenal don't get this right, then they could get exploited rather than a fear factor, I'd say, for me.
I mean, also you're very cheeky. I saw that smirk as you brought up that question about doing a league tour. Listen, I see your motives. I see your motives.
I'm just here, you know. I'm just here.
Yeah. Realistically, we've got to play City 3 times in the FA Cup and twice in the league. So the chances are he's going to score in one of the 3, provided he starts all 3 or he has some part to play in it. So I'm not fearful of him at all, to be honest with you. I think similar to the United game, shall we say, is that if you can prevent him from getting involved in the game or stop those kind of like passing links towards him, then half the job's done. The other half is the mental battle, knowing that and the psychological one, knowing that you're going to be playing, one of the most informed strikers, in world football currently, an absolute android. So I think if he was to score in the first game we play against them, in terms of that psychology, I think then it might have a bit of an impact. Not to overstate it too much, but football can be quite fickle, especially when we're playing them twice away and once at home. So, it's swings and roundabouts in that respect. And I think for Arsenal, the overall kind of outlook should be okay. In the league, ideal scenario is probably 4. Obviously, you want 2 wins, but ideal is win your home game and at least get a draw at the Etihad. And then the FA Cup, I think, comes first before both the league games. So that one's quite important because you expect both teams to maybe rotate a little bit. So maybe he doesn't start. But for Arsenal, in terms of like psychologically, both in the FA Cup and in the league, it's like, okay, if we can get a result here, you go in with more confidence in the next couple of games against them, regardless if Haaland's starting or not, and if he started in the FA Cup game. But if he doesn't start in that FA Cup game and we still lose, then, that kind of mental aspect might play into it. It's a bit of a game of chess, but I would like to think Arteta's not speaking to the boys and telling them to be fearful of this, of Haaland or this Man City team, because we're quite close in goal difference despite his goal scoring, spree he's going on. And in case anyone didn't know or couldn't remember, we are top of the league. So we've got to believe in ourselves a little bit as well. Believe in that Arteta juice there a little bit, but I think Gabriel and Saliba will be able to do a Luke Shaw.
Right. Luke Shaw he went centre back. But no, you're right. You are top of the league, and truth be told, you have every reason to be confident in stopping him. I don't see the reason why you can't, to be honest. And if there's 2 centre backs right now as well, that's showing this season that they are capable of stopping many forwards in world football. It is those 2. They're very confident, and they've got protection around them as well. That's really good. And you've got Ramsdale, who, again, confidence supreme. He's not afraid of any striker. It doesn't matter who it is, So I respect that. Mick, quickly on the rivals. Obviously, they are, I think, closer to us than they are to Arsenal. Just a quick one on the Haaland question. It's a weird one where fans are saying City are losing a bit of their, fluidity because they're trying to get goals to him, which will get goals in anything. Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you think City are not as fluid as before, and that's the reason why maybe they're not, without discrediting Arsenal, because people say if they were on form, the Arsenal wouldn't be top. I don't believe that. You play how you play in it, but
it's a very good.
Create your team. Go on.
It's a very valid question, and something that I thought about long and hard the other day as well. And as a consumer of the game, I tend to watch every team play, if time allows. But, most of the priority goes to the United games, of course. But, what I saw this season was that, it's similar to what, we try to do with Cristiano Ronaldo. We try to force feed Ronaldo with the, all balls on Cristiano. So basically, the way I saw it from a tactical perspective, that Pep changes tactics. Like, instead of going wide the way they used to do, everything went narrow towards Haaland. And Haaland, for me, is a freak of nature. Like, every 10 years, there's a new star, there's a new striker. He's a natural striker. And by the way, United almost signed him because he played under Molde, under the ranks of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that actually mentored him. So we almost got him, unless he went to Dortmund, right? So, yeah, I mean, you saw that the game where, which game was it, when they were 2-0 down against Spurs, wasn't it? Right? Spurs being Spurs.
Oh, yeah, right? Last week, yeah.
How can you go and drop 2-0 lead to lose 4-2 in the back? I mean, seriously, like. But then we saw, like, the wake up of the old Pep to say, nah, I'm changing this, because he's been quite stubborn, going like, no, everything's going to go through Haaland. So he started to play wide again, his old style, and this kind of works right now. So, yeah, I'm a little bit fearful that they, once they get the bite, they keep going, and it's going to be a great challenge for the titles. I think that it's going to stand between Arsenal and City, to be honest. But as I said before, the ball is round and anything can happen. It's 18 games to go, and whoever finds the run of form and stays injury free will win the league. It's about winning the top 6, but also getting points from the lesser leagues, lesser tables, mid tables. Even getting a point, matters at the end of the day in the points tally. That is my honest assessment, to be honest, Coach Owen.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But you made a point I want to ask Art about, and you said something about Pep. He had a very, very interesting interview recently. 2 of them, actually. The first one, when he said he doesn't care about the Premier League. And the second one being he's rattled by how the fans had sort of reacted at halftime and the way his players played. Do you think he did not expect Arteta to get Arsenal this good so quickly?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Because I think obviously a lot of the chat over the past, I guess, week or so is, did City underestimate Arsenal? And I guess Arteta comes into that. In a sense, I feel part of that answer is no, because when you look at how Guardiola kind of first, not even before he came to England with Manchester City, who was the guy he was always calling? It was Mikel Arteta. So I think he obviously knows, I guess, the brain that he's up against. One thing, maybe, I guess, because nobody foresaw what was going to happen this season, not even Arsenal, because Arteta has admitted that they are ahead of schedule in their kind of plan. I think maybe it was a little bit of an oversight in terms of what do Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko add to that team that they didn't already have, which is obviously not just experience, but a bit more, I guess, belief is the word, to actually have players that have been there and recognize, oh, these guys are actually good enough. So I think that may have been more of an oversight than an underestimation, I'd say, because I think it would be a bit unfair to say someone who has kind of relied on Mikel Arteta from before he was like his assistant manager at Man City, for like little details and things like that, to say that he underestimated him, I think that would be a bit unfair. But I guess as you're seeing the season unfold, you can't really predict much anyway. So I think going into this week, which is obviously the FA Cup game, which Colleen mentioned, I think it'd be quite interesting to see how they match up, because last year I think the game on New Year's Day at the Emirates, that was, even though Arsenal lost, I think that was one of the biggest moments, I think, in terms of that journey from where they started last season, losing 3 games on the bounce, to kind of where they are now. I think that game gave them a lot of belief in what they were doing and how they go about it. So whether they're able to kind of replicate anything near that, I think it would be quite interesting to see.
All right. Before we move on, I got a nice one for Colleen. I sure like this one. Because Mick made a point about how do you go in 2-0 at half time and lose the game 4-2. But let's be honest now, that is heritage. Am I correct?
It's the history of the Tottenham. 100%.
It's a bada bing, you know? No, but you know, this is a what the fuck, and this is double what the fuck. No, but it's hilarious, right? To be honest, but you know, can I make a point here? Like, you know, as we both are on a rebuild, like, you know, so you know, it's just so refreshing to see, like, you know, as most of people called for Arteta and Edu said last season, right? But it's just proven the point, Colleen and Art, that, you know, if you stick to the plan, you stick to the rebuild, you stick to the process, and back the manager, you know, get rid of the deadwoods, get rid of Aubameyangs and the bad apples, and rejuvenate the squad with beliefs. Now you're bearing the fruit where you are today, right? So
I mean, despite Arteta, I kind of half agree and half don't agree.
Yeah, but I'm coming to the point. I'm coming to a
lie.
point. So yeah, I'm coming to my point here to say that, you know, kudos for sticking to it, right? Kudos, because that's just bearing fruit right now. You're sitting on the top of the league, and the fan base are rejuvenated as well. Like, you know, you're electric. You're starting to, you know, you've been depressed as United supporters for many, many years. But if I compare, like, you know, yesterday's game, Kojo, to say that, you know, okay, from a United perspective, going on socials, there was a couple of bad tweets that I didn't like read, and I said, look, you know what, calm down, you know, Arteta's been there for 3-4 seasons doing this rebuild, but, you know, Erik ten Hag's been there 6 months, you know, give the manager time, right? Because it takes time to build your squad according to your image as well. Like, it's like painting a Picasso picture. Like, you know, you're throwing like a little bit of a paint here, what sticks, what gel, and finally you find your formula and you create your masterpiece. So in that sense, like, you know, how do you Arsenal feel today comparing what you felt like last season? It must be a really buzzing feeling, you know. I mean, I'm, as a United supporter, I'm really happy because I start to believe in our manager and the process, except barring places.
I don't know. I feel like I'm not going to be fickle and use, like, you know, because of the success we have now. To be completely honest, well, let me talk about the other point before I get onto Arsenal itself, because I think it's never nice when you see a manager sacked, and you always see people like, okay, it'd be nice if they got more time, because it's always easier to sack a coach than it is. You can't get rid of, you know, 11, 15 players all at once and bring in that many. So you need to find a coach that you can give time to build whatever it is that you're building, whatever project that may be, whether that's the league or, you know, pushing in to try and break the top 6 or whatever it is. But I think Arteta and I think certain managers and coaches, and I think that will just come in from, you know, the hierarchy within, and people who are close to them and, you know, who work with them, who've worked with them closely, can kind of give you the insight on. Because, for example, in my opinion, you could give, if you gave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 5 years, say if you gave him all the time in the world for this rebuild, let him build it in his own image, he ain't never leading you to a title, ever. So it's kind of getting that balance of, okay, I need to believe, it's, you know, more than nostalgia, more than he's a great person. Do I actually believe in this 5-year project? I think that's what Arteta presented, was a 5-year project and roadmap, and they said, okay, we're willing to you know, do that. But the problem is in football is that that's one thing you don't have. You don't have the luxury of time. And it's not like, you know, back in like the 80s as well, because I think you remember Sir Alex Ferguson's like first few years as well was not the best. But the environment around football is very different now. There's so much money into it, and it feels like there's even more pressure than whenever. So yes, I'm glad we gave Arteta time, because I'm now seeing the fruits of it. And I think if you were, don't get me wrong, I was very disappointed and very frustrated at the back end of last season of how close we were to getting to the Champions League. And it may have helped us in terms of mentality-wise this season. But the context of it being, if you compare Arsenal to a Roman-era Chelsea, you know, whether we like it or not, their era worked in terms of sacking and bringing new managers very quickly. They were the most successful club during that period in England in terms of how many trophies they were getting. So I'm glad we did stick with Arteta, and you could see throughout his time with us that you could see what he was trying to do. He just didn't have the players, or they weren't at the right level to execute it just yet. So you kind of have to get that right balance, because, you know, your Lampards of this world, your Ole Gunnar Solskjaers, I don't believe will ever take you to that kind of level, no matter how much time you give them. But
it comes down, it comes down to capability, doesn't it? Like, you know, your mental capability as well. You can be a good leader, but if you lack that X factor, like, you know, I can see, you know, the disciplinary and the application from both Erik ten Hag and Arteta being similar. Like, you know, nobody's barring to start. If you're not good enough, you're not starting enough. If you're late for training, you get punished. Like, you know, we've seen that with Erik ten Hag as well. So to build a squad to be successful, you need to first instill the respect, right, with the gaffer, right? This is what we lacked with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Even if we gave him the keys to Ferrari, to the kingdom, he was too nice, pretty much. He played favorites. He didn't play the right players. He let people go left, right, set to take vacations. So what Arteta, according to my opinion, has done by putting his foot down and said, no, this is my way or the highway, right? Aubameyang, you come late, you're out, you know. Xhaka is a total different player than he used to be. Like, so the biggest transformation that I've seen in Arsenal is Granit Xhaka. What I ruled out as well, he was almost on his way out. But look at Xhaka now, like, and he's a marshal in that midfield, you know, together with Ødegaard and Partey. Like, it's a combined trio that is your engine, you know, that allows you to play the progressive football that you do.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was me ranting a lot. Too much coffee.
Arsenal just announced Jakub Kiwior, by the way. So
that's done. That's done deal.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
just been announced.
Wow.
Nice. All right. Well, we are talking about Arsenal and
Koja, who is signing?
Here we go. Right. Okay. So the big game that did not disappoint, Liverpool and Chelsea, was on Sunday, where Man United visited the Emirates, a place where Arsenal are just not losing. And again, they refused to lose. But not only did they not lose, they won the game. They won the game 3-2, 2 goals by Eddie Nketiah and a lovely goal by Mr. Bukayo Saka. Absolute brilliant goal, must say. Man United had goals by Marcus Rashford and Lisandro Martinez. But on this podcast, we always, when it comes to the big games, we always start with the victors. So we got to go Arsenal first, because they're on a super high right now. They deserve to win the game, in my opinion. They are the informed side in, I'd probably say, in Europe at this point. If I'm being brutally honest, I think they're the best. Yeah, no, I'm going that far.
I mean, inform, yeah.
I'm going that far. Inform, yes.
All right.
If you're about quality of side, that's a different conversation. But inform, yeah. Colleen, come on now. Don't do that.
Just trying to stay under the radar.
Everything I can get out of you, Koja. I'm squeezing everything out.
It's compliments.
Where's KO when I need them so I can rant about people instead?
No, but it's true. You're playing very entertaining football. Even I, as a rival, like to watch you play, right? And bear in mind, my best friend, my brother from another mother, is a crazy Gunnar supporter as well. So yeah, we do talk a lot amongst each other. So yeah, you're playing fantastic football, and yeah, I agree with you.
No, you are. But let's start with the victors. We'll start with Colleen. Let's talk about Eddie Nketiah, because I think obviously when Gabriel Jesus was signed, that was not curtains for his career in Arsenal. He signed a new contract. It was supposed to be the in charge, but when Jesus got injured, a lot of people were quite worried, because Nketiah doesn't do the same sort of thing for the forward line that Nketiah does. But one thing you can guarantee from Nketiah, he's a goal scorer, man. And how good was he?
I don't know how you were around Nketiah and that whole discourse of his time at Arsenal, but me last season, always, I was like, get out of here. I'm not gonna lie to you. Even though he went on like a really good run towards the back end of last season, I was like, yeah, he's great. He's a bit of a poacher, but I don't think he's Arsenal's level. Obviously signs a new contract. We don't bring in another striker with Jesus, which is what I wanted in an ideal fairy tale world. And when I saw Jesus out, I was like, oh, it's not looking good. And yesterday on several shows, I had to make several massive apologies to Eddie Nketiah. I will be getting an Eddie Nketiah shirt to solidify my apology because the boy he's the kid. I mean, his mentality, which I think was really nice that we got to see. I mean, for me anyway, maybe people already knew about it and people who are a bit more, positive towards him than I was, because I was just like, it's just not Arsenal's level at the time. That was just really harsh on it. And seeing his mentality in the documentary being like that was that scene. I don't know if I'm sure Art knows what I'm talking about. I don't know if you two have seen it, where he talks to Nkonga and he's basically like to him, stop moaning like you think you're the only one not playing. And you're just seeing him improve so much. Like in this spell, the pressure on him is massive because Arsenal, when he comes in, are top of the league. They're probably having conversations internally as well. Like they can say whatever they like to the press about one game at a time, which I'm sure it is. But I'm sure they're acknowledging in London Colney that, that they're top of the league. And he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, as well as that number 14 shirt. That is a heavy, heavy shirt. And you can even see the improvements in his play, his link-up play, the way he's able to turn defenders. And he's always been a poacher. I've never really been... He's like that kind of more traditional poacher style for a striker. That's never been like, the kind of striker I like personally in terms of style. But I can't hate on him. He's getting you, he's doing what a striker does. He's getting you the goals when you need it, when it matters. And yesterday was key. He gets us back level and he gets the winner. And he's been doing that. The Tottenham game, he did everything but score. So when Jesus comes back, there's a fair argument for Jesus not to walk straight back into that team.
But at least you have options now.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have. And I'm sure Arteta's waiting for it to get to the end of Feb when he can have that headache.
And we'll continue with you before we go to Art. Another goal scorer. Now, I'm just going to say this, right? When I was asked the question of who's the best young talent in the country, I'm stuck between an Arsenal player and a Man City. Yeah, I'm not really happy about talking about either of them and, not having someone in that conversation at that moment in time. But him and Foden are clearly the top two in the country, in my opinion, by far. They're gone. And I thought Foden was clear, but this season, Bukayo Saka has, I don't know if he's leveled up or he's showing the potential that he really had that I just didn't know he could fulfill. The guy is a monster right winger. He's so good. How much of a joy is it watching him, knowing that when he gets the ball, something's going to happen no matter what?
I feel like a proud mum. I really do. I'm just like, he's come from Haaland, everything he's gone through as well with the Euros. Even when he broke into the Arsenal squad, more left back and everything that he's done, and each season he's improved. I think he's got better on his right foot as well. He's just improved and gone up a level each, every 6 months in those kind of periods. I think he's really taken his game to the next level, and it just brings a smile on my face. It's just, there's nothing better than having a young player from your academy blossom in your first team. And we're blessed with at least 3 with Nketiah to a degree and Smith Rowe. But Saka, I mean, he's my pride and joy. If he leaves, I think I will cry. It's so refreshing. And he just does it with a smile on his face. I think Thierry even said, when you look at Bukayo Saka and you look at Emil Smith Rowe, there is no doubt you see on their head Arsenal Football Club. And I think that's just something that just takes it to another level for me outside of his talent. And he's still so young. And I don't see any reason why, he can't get better. Because, when you always get those young players, like, for example, your Walcott at the time, for example, or maybe even to a lesser degree, your Bentleys and whatnot, where you can see they've got the talent. But it's a will they, won't they? Will they kick on? Will they maintain that? But I think it's different with someone like Saka and your Fodens. They just look like different gravy, and that they're going to continue getting better, which is only a good thing for England. And in our case, Arsenal.
Well, I mean, man. Oh. I just saw something. My bad.
Yeah, it was Saka doing this right behind you. That's what you saw.
We ain't got to do that now.
That celebration's dusted now. Rashford,
it's not dusted.
better not dare pull that out again.
Firstly, Rashford stole from someone else in the first place anyway, so it's not even his. Secondly, yeah. But anyway, Art, to you, I will ask this question. I think I would say, in my opinion, firstly, it was a more even game in the first half. I think you guys kicked off very well. You guys out of the blocks quick, and then Man United gradually grew into the game, had their spell, got their goal, and then you got your goal, and then it was sort of back and forth. But in the second half, my goodness, you guys came out on a mission to absolutely destroy United. Where do you think the game was won? Like, where do you think Arteta said, I need to maybe target this player or maybe this section of United a lot more, and the substitutions, because the Trossard and Tomiyasu substitutions worked big time.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything Arteta said, if I'm being totally honest, because that second half has happened at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times this season, where Arsenal, I guess, if you think of the Liverpool game at the Emirates, again, very similar first half where Arsenal really quick start, and then it gets into kind of like a boxing match. And then just as they come out for the second half, I think they almost go into like this sense of overdrive where they're not just knocking on the door, they're absolutely hammering at that door as if they were like a SWAT team doing a drug raid. Like, that is the only comparison I can think of when I'm seeing how they're kind of just penning teams in for half an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes in those second halves. And when you're doing that, it's just a matter of time, really, before you get an opening. And I think, luckily, obviously, Nketiah's positioning in the box has always been great. His finishing has always been great. So he's there to kind of... Honestly, his finish is ridiculous yesterday. I don't really think people actually comprehend that he's bent his leg back and hit that in with his shin. I don't think people understand how hard that would have been to pull off. But in terms of the subs, I think that was a really interesting kind of subplot to the game, because Arteta never makes halftime subs. That's something that everyone has held against him since he was given, I guess, taken charge. Because I think everybody got kind of used to Emery making subs at halftime almost every single game, and there were moments where those halftime subs worked really well. Like, I'm sure Colleen remembers the North London derby at the Emirates, where Ramsey and I think it was Lacazette came on at halftime, and then they won 4-2. Moments like that, I think, got people to latch on to those kind of halftime subs. And when they didn't get them from Arteta, I guess similar to Pep in what you mentioned earlier, Kojo, in, okay, we're going to stick to this plan, and that's my plan. It was quite nice to see him just it wasn't a plan B, but just give his options some time, especially because Ben White didn't play particularly well in that first half. And then with Trossard coming on, I think you saw what was missing in that Newcastle game. It wasn't particularly different from what Martinelli was doing. It was just sharper, I think. And he gets into slightly different areas in terms of being a bit more central than Martinelli, who likes to stay wide. But I just thought you saw what they were about in terms of bringing him in January. Just not just a squad player, but someone who could actually mix it with those guys. Because that little moment, not just for the goal, but when he danced around like 5 players inside the box, 2-footed, number 19, like a certain someone, I'm not going to say his name. That was one of many moments that had me squealing yesterday. So yeah, it was very nice to see. And on Nketiah and Saka, luckily I've got my receipts on Nketiah going back a few years, so so I didn't have to make any apologies yesterday, luckily.
And Arteta, it's a question for both of you. Art, you can start first, and then go to Colleen as well. Just how, obviously, he's added players. So Trossard's come in, great impact straight away in a huge game. Come off the bench, confident, knows Premier League. Probably even knows his opponents a lot more than if you're talking about other players coming in. So he came in, made an instant impact. But with him adding extra players now, do you think he is now starting to show the confidence that he believes he can build a squad capable of actually going on to now win the league? I think he's looking at this team now and saying, I'm just adding these guys as backup because I know this team now can really push for it? Or do you think he's still being a bit... I mean, the football's not showing it. It won't show it because Arsenal, you play a very great attacking style of football. But do you think he's maybe just trying to hold back a little bit and saying we're going for the title? Maybe to the players he's saying it, but you think he's not ready to give it out just yet and say, yeah, we're really pushing for this?
Well, they're never going to say it until the 38th match day of the season. So I don't know why people would expect him to. In terms of...
Conte said it. Conte said he was trying to get that with Spurs.
And look at him. Look at him.
Yep.
And look at him. Please.
No. And also, every time you listen to Jurgen Klopp's interviews, like, why are you going to blame it on now? Okay, there was a raindrop fell on the ball that changed the trajectory, and then hit Sainsbury car park. Nah,
but yeah, I think in December, whatever happened, wherever Arsenal were, if they were 4th, if they were 6th, they had to get reinforcements in January. It doesn't come down to, oh, they're in a title race, so they're doing this. I think you saw, I guess, the mistakes of last January where they had...
You're giving me Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah.
First, Emery,
sorry about that. But they had a month to reinforce with a striker and a midfielder. It was last year. And it cost them that they didn't in the end. And I think wherever they were, they would have tried to rectify that this January. And again, the Newcastle game that I mentioned earlier, I think they're lucky that happened their first game of the new year, because it just kind of reinforced what everyone knew, really, from Arteta to Colleen to me to whoever is watching on the stream. Everyone knew they needed another option, and not just a body, by the way, someone who could actually contribute in wide areas, because Europa League starts back up for Arsenal in March. If they want to go on that FA Cup run, then they're going to need to rotate that team, because I think even in the Oxford game, third round of the FA Cup, Martinelli plays 90 minutes and Ketia, I think, plays 90 minutes as well. And Saka only comes off because he got a little knock or something like that. So I think coming into the last week of January and going into February, it's great to see that not just they got Trossard and let me get the pronunciation right. One sec. I'm gonna have to practice.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to practice that one.
Polish, yeah.
But they got Emil Smith Rowe coming back as well, which I think is as big as those two, because anyone who knows me knows Emil Smith Rowe is. If Bukayo Saka's Colleen's son, then Emil Smith Rowe is mine.
Can I pose a question to you? How big blow was that you actually missed on Mudryk? Like, you almost had him, right? That would be a great signing for you moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know what Colleen thinks. She can probably jump in after me.
Yeah.
It's one that I don't really know, if I'm being totally honest, because of what happened yesterday. I think Trossard and Mudryk had very similar cameos. Obviously, that game at Anfield was just dry, but he was the one that really kind of made it exciting with how he played. Very two-footed, very quick. I think the obvious upside is he's much younger and has much more potential. But if you're looking at the short term, medium term, then I don't know if they'd be that upset, because they're still in with a chance. But I don't know what Colleen thinks about that.
No, I think I agree, to be honest with you. I think, Arsenal obviously they obviously didn't want him that much if they weren't prepared to go to, do exactly what Chelsea wanted to do, or whatever the structure, however it ended up in, the finer details of it. Or, Arsenal have a line and they won't be, they won't be held to ransom. And then anyone players who want to play for Arsenal, despite all the social media PR and whatnot. At the end of the day, he's not in a red and white jersey, and it'll be something we'll have to look at in what will come towards the end of his contract in 8 years' time, whether in 18 months he's in the Bundesliga on a loan, or whether he's actually had a great career at Chelsea, because he's as Art said, his cameo at Anfield was the only kind of bright spark in a very drab game. With that being said, any elite football club that has anyone with some level of competency up top running things, these things can happen. So you've got to come up with contingency plans. You don't just plan for the window January 1st and you go in, with your eyes, blind. You plan for these things in October, August, and even the January from before. These things aren't accidents. So that 100 million, or thereabouts, 90, 80, or whatever, how much it is, has obviously now been like, okay, is going now through other areas of the squad that we definitely needed. And whether we go big again for someone else in the summer, we'll have to see. But it could, in my opinion, it could be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because as much as he is such a young talent and we've got a glimpse of it so far, us getting in Trossard, who plays a big role in us getting that win yesterday, and bringing in it seems like at least another centre-back, and there's rumours of potentially another right-back, that kind of more than just bodies, but quality young players coming in that Arteta really wants. I kind of prefer that right now, considering where we are and how light we are as a squad, because our bench looks so much better already.
Yeah, I mean, I must say the difference is 80 million, right? So it's astute business to get already a proven Trossard. I rate Trossard at Brighton. He was like, he's really good. And it costs 20 million. If you pay like 20 million, is it proven experience can do a job? Obviously he fell out a little bit and didn't get a lot of game time at Brighton, but the difference for him coming out yesterday, he played a contribution for the 2-1 goal as well, the way he was running. Now, paying 100 million, okay, that leaves you 80 million to spend in the summer. So for me, it's a good signing, Trossard. I'm really happy for you guys.
I mean, I'm glad we got him. I don't know how you feel, Art, but I was like, okay, solid, proven, decent
I think
experience.
It's not just a proven thing as well. Obviously, that's the kind of line everyone will go with, but Arsenal in-house have known about him for a while, because the assistant manager, Albert Stoivenberg, coached him at Genk when he was there before he was at Brighton. And I think also, I did actually ask Arteta about this last week. It just seems like Arsenal have just filled the pitch with technicians now. And it reminds me a lot of that early Emirates kind of Arsenal, where you had people who could play centrally playing out wide. You had people who could play out wide playing centrally. I'm talking about like Nasri, Rosicky, Hleb, those guys, where they're all just going wherever they want to, and it just flows. So I'm quite happy with that. And yeah, hopefully it continues.
Well,
sorry, was that too much positivity for you, Kojo?
a bit.
Yeah,
a bit. But no, you guys deserve to win. To the team that deserve to lose. Mick, Man United lost the game,
sir.
as we know.
Yes.
But where did it go wrong? I have my opinions on this. I will try and chime in wherever I can. Art and Colleen, you can ask as many questions as you want to, or chime in when you want to as well. But Ruby, where did you, Mick? Where do you think the game was lost from Man United? Where was the key moment where you saw it's going south?
As I said earlier, I refused to do a match reaction after the game because, emotions were running high. So I don't let my emotions clog my judgment. So I had to sleep on it. And when I woke up, it was all fresh. I cleared all the clouds and looked at it from all angles. Where did it go wrong from the first place is knowing that, Arteta never changed his lineup. It's always the same, right? That's the thing. So where it goes wrong in the first place is, if I'm Erik ten Hag, I know what the lineup is going to be from Arsenal side, from Arteta. So I did when the lineup come out and I saw Scott McTominay that hasn't started for 6 games to play against Ødegaard, that was just an open invitation for slaughter, right? So the game was lost already in the midfield, because if you're playing against, Ødegaard, if you play against Xhaka, if you play against who else, Thomas Partey, right? And you have McTominay. He's not he's not positionally aware. He's eyeballing. He's not he's drifting away, and he gave Ødegaard yards of space for his creativity. Ødegaard, we know he's a playmaker. So where he went wrong is we invited them. Basically, we defended narrow, so we allowed them to play their game like playing wide. Right? We know that Eriksen don't have the legs to play 90 minutes. We know that Bruno sometimes gives the ball away, and plus putting in McTominay in, I didn't really think that was the correct lineup. I think if it would, of course, we missed Casemiro big time, and we did. I mean, I just got a
flashback of how he got that stupid yellow.
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, come on, let's not talk. Colleen.
Sorry.
I would expect a more competitive midfield from United, because games are won and lost in the midfield. We did well in the first half because we know the rock and roll football you do. The German umfa 200 kilometers an hour, techno boompa boompa boompa. It's just going into a fight with Mike Tyson and just you go all in the first 30, first minute, just pound. I expected us to go what we did against City, just put in Fred, man mark Ødegaard, don't give him the yards of space, but that didn't happen. But we did well, in the first 20 minutes, we resisted that gegenpress, we got the first goal. You guys responded very fast within six minutes, and it was game on, right? It was a very good game, very good first half. Where it went wrong in the second half, I expected Ten Hag to say, listen, we know they're going to go on hard on us in the first 20 minutes again. I would have adopted, I would have made the changes, but no. We let that one in, and we came back with the butcher, Martinez. Everyone was slagging him, oh, he's too small. Arsenal wanted him, but you know what? He's our butcher. He's our hobbit. You know what I mean? So that goal from the leader, the leader Martinez was sublime. He had this bandana and managed to head it over, what was it?
Listen, that goal, we watched the replays about several times, and I've skipped that goal each time. From an Arsenal perspective, do you know how awful that was to watch?
Yeah, I know. And afterwards, my mate called me and said, you know what? The man of the match from your end was Martinez. Yeah, he was. He was very competitive. So where did it go wrong, Kojo? I must say, we did try to go toe-to-toe, but we didn't have the engine to complete. And as I said, Erik ten Hag was very upset in the post-interview because it looked like we were going for a point. We were taking we were taking a draw, and a point is a point, right? But it's never easy to come to Emirates, especially when it's your fortress, where you have 60 angry, Arsenal supporters being part of the 13th play. The 12th play was, of course, Arteta. You got a yellow card on the sidelines. You know what I mean? So he was part of the game as well. But I would say easily, we switched off. The substitution was wrong. So I love Erik ten Hag, but he got the subs wrong. He could have thrown in Garnacho early stages. He could have taken up Weghorst, put Rashford in the middle, go Garnacho on the left. He didn't have to take off Anthony because Anthony was cooking. Every time Anthony got the ball, he had respect. He had he had 2-3 players surrounding him, right? But he was also no.
Was the oven on? I don't think the oven was on. Electric was not paid. Was not paid.
He played a good part as well because he was also tracking back, he was providing defensive support as well, which I like in a way. So, but at the end of the day, Kojo, what happened is that we switched off. We all already made it. We came to the 90th minute, and there was nothing we can do. Was it an offside goal? I don't know. It's up to debate, but
no, it wasn't.
But, at the end of the day, Arsenal was more hungrier. Arsenal was the better team, possession-wise. Before we equalized, I looked at the broadcast that I said win percentage was Arsenal 95%. Boom, and
95%. Wow.
Yeah. So Anyway, I think it was kind of the game of the season, barring the game that we played against City, right? It was a very, very good test. It was electric. It was good football. But it's not easy to come to Emirates and try to go toe-to-toe. So big up for Arsenal for the win, and big up for Arteta, and big up also for your boy, for your boy Saka, right? He was really, really good. You know, that shot he had against De Gea was mint.
What?
Coach
Yeah, go on.
Mick, I'm actually not letting you guys get off the hook here.
Wait. You see, what have I done?
I gave you the roses, Colleen.
No, I've got questions. I've got
Go for it,
questions.
go for it.
I've got
Go for
several
Okay, go for
questions.
it.
And I know Kojo in particular around one of these questions has a lot to say. I want to know both of your thoughts around Wan-Bissaka, who's had a bit of a revival at United, caught sleeping a couple. No.
Yeah, he did.
The word revival needs to stop. Okay, because no. Okay, yeah, you got me started. Okay, so
There we go.
so the thing is, I'm a big advocate of form being called after like 7 games plus, where you're actually just keep on going, because that lets me know that you're feeling super confident and no one can get past you. The confidence in your football is showing. You're on the ball. You're confident. You're great. But I have an issue with this thing about Wan-Bissaka being a great defender, and it irritates me when I hear it, because being good in one-on-ones is cute. I'm going to use the term cute because I'm annoyed with him. It's cute. It's cute. But his lack of defensive awareness terrifies me, and it keeps happening during set pieces. And I can go back to last season. I think it might have been Bournemouth, Bournemouth got promoted this year. So whoever it was, the ball came in, and him and Maguire were like essentially hugging each other rather than marking players. And then in this game, also play a short corner, and then when they eventually whip it in, you look backwards at Nketiah, so you know he's there, and you go forward to the man that Luke Shaw's on. I don't understand what's happening. I don't get it, but he keeps doing it. So being a great defender, no, that's rubbish. Niche. Mick?
No, he slept basically on that Nketiah goal. Like, clearly saw it in the replay, right? He just switched off. But I remember one incident, because he's very good on slide tackling on when we won. Like, there was one incident where he stopped. Who was it? It was a one-on-one situation. The guy was running free, and just he threw his spider legs and just kicked off. That is his trait, right? That's his spider legs. That's what we call him. But to go back, before December, nobody rated him in the fan base. Everyone thought he was going out, like on a January transfer move. And that headache has been solved, because we no longer need to go to the market to get a right back. We have a good backup in terms of Dalot being our first choice right back. So we will see in summer what happens. But for me, Wan-Bissaka does a great job for now.
I'm just going to answer that question below. The question is, you could say he was a mistake for the goal yesterday, but he was a left back. Should someone else have been there? That's not the point for me. If you're a defender in a set piece, once you've got your man, you just have to do everything you can to beat him to the ball and make sure you're goal side. He was goal side and then fell asleep. So I know he's a right back at left back in that situation, but if you focus and get the ball out, you can help the team get back into position, adjust properly, and then go from there. So it's unfortunate he was at left back, but it might have been a tactic, because 2 or 3 corners later, he was there again. So,
most of the time they reverse at set pieces anyway, so you can kick away with your stronger foot. So.
Exactly. So,
but tactically, I can look at it this way, Kojo. I can look at it this way, because we defended very narrow. Like, so we allowed the wide play of Martinelli and also Saka to play wide and dominate, right? So what was he supposed to do? They were overlapping each other. So, it was a tough day at work for both of them, right? For both Shaw and Wan-Bissaka.
I think Shaw made a few. I was a bit confused with Shaw. I don't know. I want to see it from a United perspective. Not that he had a particularly overly bad game, but it felt almost criminal that you were allowing Saka to go onto his left foot and cut in.
I don't think he wanted anything to do. I don't think he wanted anything to do with Saka. I'm really scared. He wanted anything to do with Saka.
Because I was thinking,
Saka
did you not learn the first time? The first time he cut in.
A similar thing happened in both of the Spurs games. I think it was Perisic, and I can't remember who was left back in the most recent one, but it's almost like that ground and pound. Like, Saka just picks up the ball and runs, and defenders back off because they're scared. they don't know what to do.
But that's the issue with Saka. It's even though he's left-footed and ideally he's going to try and cut in,
It's that Robin
he's so
factor.
good also going direct down the wing. So he's unpredictable. And I don't think he knows how to deal with that. Him cutting in on Shaw was annoying. The one that annoyed me was the goal that he scored because I'm not saying Eriksen can do a lot. Eriksen's not a good defender. That's point blank period. That's fine.
That's
so I know
true.
that I don't expect too much from him. But again, me being the cynic that I am when it comes to defending, get close to him. Don't let him cut in because you know what his strongest foot is. So if he's going to beat you, let him beat you, but not make it so easy for him to go in and then get that shot in because Saka has definitely improved on his shooting and he's getting stronger physically as well. So he's a bigger challenge. So you got to do everything you can to minimize any chance of him shooting that goal for the Gea to have a problem. But Saka's difficult to deal with. If I'm being just very honest, he's very hard to deal with. He's a top player. Mick,
Yes,
another
sir.
question. You mentioned McTominay, and I'm going to ask you this question. And again, I want both of you as well to really just get in on this one, right? When you talk about football, you had a special job for him. Yeah, apparently, you know, when you talk about players like Odegaard, you can debate what his best quality is. He's a great passer, or is his best quality the fact that he's so good with the ball at his feet, close control, you know, all of that. Saka as well, you can say the same thing. You know, I can go back to bloody two guy who played for Blackburn. Hey, you know what? Long range shots. I know that's his USP. Yeah, but McTominay. Here's a question for everybody: what's his best quality?
Passion
merchant.
Yeah, he's your passion merchant.
Passion.
That's his best quality.
Man. Nick, I'm being honest because
I'm struggling to find because I've been analysing Scott McTominay for many years, and you know the donut hole what we had with McFred. I finally said McFred is dead. Like, you know, we got Casemiro, we got quality midfielders. So clearly we can see that Scott McTominay is just a good bench player, right? He's a good option to come in when it's like 70 minutes left. You just need fresh legs. But for me, Scott McTominay at the moment is not on form. He doesn't offer anything other than height, right? And whenever he comes in, he's a liability in fouling and giving stupid fouls away, right? So for me, I don't know. I used to call him the bishop because he used to just go side, you know, like in chess play. He just used to go side by side, passing side by side.
I like that.
But he's not a CDM. He's never been a CDM. So he's a box-to-box midfielder. So, you know, if he plays, you know, if you give him the role to attack, being more of an attacking role, you've seen how he can score a goal. Like, you know, he also has a sort of a lethal shot outside the six-yard box. But for me, it's not a consistent enough. Like, you know, under Ollie time, like, you know, he was constantly picking Scott and Fred, and I didn't understand why, because obviously they were picked on the what they did in training, but when you look what the pitch performance was, there's like I was scratching my head. It's like why? Under everyone under Ten Hag's development, he's the only one that really hasn't caught on to it in terms of development. So I'm starting to think that he's reached his peak of development. So there's even rumors that he's going out to loan spell or sell to Newcastle, what the media is saying. I don't think it's going to happen in January, but
you take that smile off your face.
No, but seriously, like, you know, we Manchester United, we need to sort of look at where do we need to invest the money right now. We need a proper striker. We need another ball carrying, you know, center midfielder or CDM where we can't have Casemiro, right? Because Casemiro has been, you know, the general, the Don, the registrar. He's been arguably one of the best CDMs in the league at the moment, or even in Europe,
the
right?
best.
The best.
Absolutely.
The best. Yeah.
The best. Absolutely.
So I don't know. I don't really. It hurts me to say as a United supporter because I back my team, I back my manager, but you know, you got to give critics where critics is due, and I don't think he's up there like to be a first team player. You know, he's the maximum squad player, but coming that, you know, we're playing 3 games a week until mid-March. We need bodies, right? We need rotations. So same with the Wan-Bissaka. You know, we need good quality rotation players as well to come in. That's
Yeah.
my
That's fair.
amen.
That's fair. I'm going to ask Art this question. I want to ask about the substitutions from Ten Hag and what you thought of that, because you mentioned that Arteta, for the first time in Yonkers, made a sub at half time. That's not something that you see often. So we made our first sub, I think, after we went 2-1 down with Fred. I could be very wrong. I think so. And then when we went 3-2 up, out of nowhere, I saw Garnacho running on the pitch. Now, that's very reactionary compared to Arteta, in my opinion, anyway, who sort of maybe saw a problem at halftime and said, I need to bring Tomiyasu on now, maybe to deal with the Rashford threat, for example. So if you could give me a sort of, unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
What do you really think of those subs? What do you think?
Who did Fred replace again? I can't actually.
Was it Anthony?
Was it Anthony?
Anthony. They took off a winger. They played Bruno on the
to
right
help
wing.
out Shaw, right? To pop on.
Yes.
Because when you mentioned like the special plan and stuff, I guess
to play Martinez as CDM.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you can't play Scott McTominay and say you've got a special plan for him. I can't believe it. But anyways, please continue. Yeah. Sorry.
Because when that was said, and then you see how the first half kind of transpired, I guess everyone's assumption would be, oh, he's going to do a Herrera job on Ødegaard, but McTominay is on the right of the Man United midfield, and Ødegaard's on the right of the Arsenal midfield, where he always is. So they're on opposite sides anyway. And as the game went on, I just kept thinking, what is the plan? What is the plan? And then I think it clicked at some point. Oh, is it to stop Zinchenko from just going wherever he wants to go? Because you saw, I think against Tottenham, first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, Zinchenko had to stay quite contained, I guess, at left back. And then after about half an hour, he started going wherever he wanted. And I think it was just a similar kind of trend in yesterday's game, where after a while, Zinchenko just thought, all right, I'm just going to run off to the right wing and get involved in some play over there. I'll go centre mid, pop a ball around. I'll just keep us ticking over. And I think the Fred substitution made a bit of sense in terms of if you want to get more of a lid on that, especially with how Zinchenko was going over to that right-hand side and making it easier for Saka to do what he wanted, whether it was go inside or out. So that kind of made a bit of sense. It was still reactionary because that theme had basically built to a crescendo by the point Fred had come on. The other one, Garnacho, I think it was, very late on. I just
very too late.
That was someone trying to claw at the game and get something back. I don't think it was anything more than that. Yeah, and I guess you kind of saw substitutions like that from Arteta very early on. There were times where some of his changes seemed quite strange, and luckily that's kind of been ironed out recently. I guess the last time it would have happened was at Old Trafford this season, when they equalize, and then I think Rashford scores within a couple minutes, and then he makes a triple sub, which he hardly ever does. And I don't think he's done since then, to be fair. So yeah, I think it was just one of those spur of the moment kind of things that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, if I'm being totally honest. But the first one, I think, was just damage limitation at that point, because, as you say, it was a barrage of attacks from Arsenal at that point.
Kojo, would you say that it's sorry?
No, go for it.
Yeah, I was just saying, would you say that looking from your perspective, the in-game management that that we didn't get it right, in terms of the substitutions. I mean, you could have, you could have thrown in Garnacho earlier, but taking up a winger to put Bruno on the right wing and putting McFred, we were never going for the kill for a win. So it looks like we were going for a point, but we fell through at the 90th minute. So would you say that the in-game management was wrong from Erik ten Hag at this point of time, or because it's the second time we concede in the 90th minute?
I mean, I disagreed with from the beginning with the starting. Well, not completely starting out from one individual starting, but no names. But no, it was poor, and the reason why I think it's poor is because I'm not trying to. It's not in relation to Arteta, but you got to compare the two. Arteta made subs at halftime because he saw an issue where he maybe thought Ben White couldn't deal with Marcus Rashford, and Partey wasn't dealing with Rashford either when he came in, so he got someone a lot more solid. Similar to what he did, I think it was Liverpool when Tomiyasu started left back to deal with Salah, sort of just to nullify that threat straight away, because Tomiyasu is, quite frankly, a very solid defender. In my opinion, if I'm going to be very honest, and I can't believe I'm about to praise and ask the player again, I think if he continues to defend as well as he does, because I haven't seen him have a bad defensive performance, he could be sort of like what Aspi was for Chelsea. When Aspi played right back, left back, centre back, and he was just solid. You weren't beating him. Tomiyasu can be that guy for Arsenal. So obviously they know Ben White, Zinchenko, Saliba, and Gabriel are their guys. But if one of them's out, there's only one guy that's going to walk in straight away. He's undisputed for me. That guy he's bloody good. Damn. So yeah, he's very good. But you compare that one, and then when Trossard came, when it was 2-2, but it made sense because Martinelli wasn't working. So even though they're playing in the same position, the way they approach the game is very different. And you could see the way Trossard was starting to make trouble, not only for our defense, but for the midfielders as well. They weren't sure how to deal with him. Art said it. There was a period of time where he had like 5 United players around him, and he just went through them and he played the ball very simple. And that's the best thing about Arsenal's play as well about that day was, even though they were after the win, the forward play wasn't rushed. It was very, very concise. They took their time with it and they found the right moments. You come to United now, you're struggling to hold on to the game. So, in my opinion, you got to bring on maybe an extra defender just to help shore things up a little bit, calm things down at the back. And if you're going to bring on Garnacho, see, the thing is, okay, so you mentioned Anthony earlier, you see he was cooking. Me personally, I have a totally different opinion. And the reason why I have a different opinion is because I feel like the fact that this guy is not even struggling, he just doesn't use his right foot for anything, is holding him back big time. Because I'm not asking for him to shoot with his right foot. If you're not a player that can use both feet like that, that's fine by me. But at least use it to dribble, because it makes your job easier. He's on the right side doing 360 turns to pass the ball back to his right back. He's killing himself. You know what I'm saying?
And then
and then he's predictable coming inside. And quite frankly, I know he's 22, so development and all that. Give him time. But right now, he hasn't got that Robben factor. That when Robben cuts in with his left, no matter what, you're not stopping him. He hasn't got that about him yet. So
you haven't seen the X factor yet blooming out, as he was playing the Ajax and Erik ten Hag. So give him time.
Exactly. So until he does.
But when I was saying cooking, I mean his overall defending ability was also helping out. Like, he was tracking back and defending very well. And when he was going forward, he was taking it on. And what I was saying, whenever he had the ball on the byline, he had respect. He had two, 3 players surrounding him, so they knew his trickery, right? So to say he was cooking now, maybe that's wrong, but he was actually doing something well that was tracking back and offering something going forward.
I think that's fair.
Now, when you took him off, then you didn't have that attacking threat by putting Bruno as a right winger instead, and to play with Matt Fred.
That's where my issue with the subs were. I think even if you got this job from McTominay, fine. Take off Eriksen. People are saying to me that they disagree because of the creative aspect, and I understand that. But for me, in that moment in the game, you're not creating chances. You need to hold on. So
hold on to the lead,
exactly. So you take Eriksen off and bring Fred on, and you take Anthony off and bring Garnacho on. Someone that's a bit more dynamic on the wing rather than Anthony. So if you do get a counter attack, then you can let these guys go forward. And you know what? I would have taken off Weghorst as well. Weghorst wasn't bad.
Weghorst. I would, as I said, I would take off Weghorst, put Rashford in the middle, put Garnacho on the left, kept Anthony on, and still have that width, the attacking formation. If you would have defended the lead, I would throw in extra defender like Harry Maguire, or you know what I mean, just to defend. Oh, just an example.
I know. You're not wrong, because funny enough, I was thinking about him in the game, and I was like, wait, no, wait, Michael, we're not going there. But no, even then, exactly. I would have actually taken off Weghorst for Pellistri. I'm just saying,
Pellistri, yeah.
I'm not expecting Pellistri to do anything crazy, but in that moment, just if you get the ball, play it to the fast guys, the dribblers, and see if they can create something out of nothing. Because until then, Arsenal are peppering you. And if there's a lesson to learn in this season, when Arsenal are on your neck, you're not getting out. So you need to find another way to get out. Don't play your normal style. Just get rid of the ball and let these guys try and run.
I think that was half of your issue when it came to like an attacking aspect. Yeah. I think you halved both options that you had. You had the option to Arsenal playing very high. You could get them on the break. I think you did it twice. Once in the first half, once in the second half. Both times, it was like quite quiet shouts for penalties when Bruno and Rashford went over. But also you had Weghorst, who he's a big lad. He's someone who can hold up the ball and bring your wingers and your players with pace into the game. And that didn't happen either. So that's where my worry was as an Arsenal supporter watching that second half. I was like, okay, we've got to be careful because United are devastating on the break. But both of your goals, maybe I'm being overly harsh, but both of your goals, the Rashford one was, a bit poor from Arsenal's part in terms of losing the ball where they did, but brilliance from Rashford. The second one again was an Arsenal mistake, really, and a great opportunity from Martinez to actually, kind of hook that header in. But in terms of what your actual plan was to get through on goal, I think either holding up with Weghorst or catching us on the break, neither really happened. So I think that's the part where, not to discredit Ten Hag too much because you've done well so far, but where he either became a little bit unstuck or just became a bit too naive, because when you went to 2-2, you tried to slow the game down. De Gea, falling over on the ground, trying to just go for that, which, by the way, thoughts and prayers. I hope that he recovers as soon as possible.
Not easy.
I know how those shoulder injuries be hurting when you fall over yourself onto the ground. When you wake up, you try to do this, and you're like, nah, man, not today. Yeah,
when it's cold outside.
Yeah. I mean, De Gea didn't have a great distribution yesterday as well. Like you saw when he was kicking the ball, thinking that Luke Shaw will pick it up, and he's like, where are you? He just kicked it out. Kick the ball out to the sidelines, so he wasn't that good on his distribution yesterday either. So
no, I can't lie. Final word on me on De Gea. That didn't concern me about De Gea. I know he does that. There was a moment in time when the ball was in the air in the box, and he boxed it, and he punched it. I was like, hold on,
what the hell was that?
What's he doing?
Yeah.
Why?
That was my reaction as well. I was like, I said to my girl, I was like, that's weird. Why did he do that?
But anyway, you know what? Man United have a lot to learn, but they are improving. You are right. They are improving. They are getting better. But I think the biggest one right now is that Arsenal are pushing for the title.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to be very honest, I think when they meet City, they win one and lose one. And I think that will be enough for Arsenal to push on to go and win the title. And I think they're going to win the FA Cup game as well.
Okay, we're just going after top 4. All right.
We're talking the same PTSD language here. Just hold back. You know what? Can I say something right here? Because from a rivalry perspective, I rather see Arsenal win the title than another City title, to be honest. Because if City win the title, they take our record. That's it. Football goes in cycles, and I had enough of seeing City dominating. I had enough of Liverpool's, the Scousers as well. And look where they are in the table. So it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air, because Prem has been very competitive this year. It's not easy to win all these games. Not even playing the low league tables, the mid tables. They give you a game all the time. But kudos if you win the title, if you win the league. I'll be more than happy to see that happening, because it's good for the Prem, it's good for the football as well. As a consumer, as you're neutral, but obviously I want United to win it, as well. But we're not going to talk about that right now.
If I'm going to be very cheeky to you guys as well, when you last won the title was in year 6, so it's about time. So hurry up, please. Come on.
But when was the last time you won a title? Was it 2006? Was it, or
2004? The Invincibles.
2004.
That's how you know Coach is a hater, because as a non-Arsenal fan, You see how quick he was to be like, no, don't even give them those 2 extra years. Not 2006, 2004. You see him? He was not even one beat went. He was like, no, not giving them that at all.
You know what it is, yeah? I've grown up all my life. My brother's an Arsenal fan. My cousins are Arsenal fans. Most of my friends are Arsenal fans.
So you're a glory hunter. Is that what you're
saying?
My
cousin that this. Oh no, I followed my dad. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was younger, I was gonna support Newcastle or Fulham, and I don't know why I was going near Fulham. So, boy,
brother.
You know.
Brother, so my brother is a Liverpool fan.
Same.
Oh well, you guys are having a wonderful time.
Yeah. No, we don't. We are Manchester United family. That's
Yeah. So no, when it comes to Man United Arsenal banter, I gotta be quick on my feet because this has been running for years. But it's been 19 years, man. So hurry up. You know what I'm saying? Hurry up, man. I know you guys been waiting. It's a long time. It's a long time.
Jojo,
so I get
block
it.
me.
I get it.
Block
so get your title.
me when we win the league. Block me because you're top 5 on my list. Top 5.
There's one common thing that we both have together, like being Arsenal and Manchester United, because we had misery time for 10 past years, But it's so refreshing to see that we are going places as well with the rebuild and everything, because nobody expected us to be in this position where we are now. We're playing both good football, right? We have progressive managers, so it's so refreshing, to watch you guys play football. It's entertainment.
No, right? I need you guys to suffer for a bit longer. I can't lie.
Colleen, I'm trying to give you the roses. Come on, man.
I'm so sorry. You guys can suffer for another 10 years. Yeah, the trenches we've been in since 2004. Yeah, the trenches. Sorry, you guys have got another 10 years to go through. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Remember when you signed Mikos Festa? That was a great time, isn't it?
Oh my God. I mean, to be fair, he did get a win against United for Arsenal
he did.
at the Emirates. So I'll take that one.
He did. No trophy, but he did.
No, but that's still.
Jojo, we missed Lingard doing moonwalks, right? We don't have Lingard to do moonwalks anymore.
When Arsenal win the league, I need to block myself because Colleen's going to find me and finish me. Boy.
No, at the 90th minute on the day that we win that trophy, you just hear a knock on your door. You're on my list. And you're welcome to the parade in N5 in May. You're welcome. I'll save you a spot. Get a great.
You're going to welcome me to the parade?
Yeah, come on in. You deserve to see a trophy. It's been 5-6 years for you guys. You deserve a
little. Oh no, that's fine. I'll come and tell you about how many times we've won the Premier League. But
hey, what? Huh?
But guys, imagine if we got all the way in the Europa League and we go head to head in the finals. That would be something, right?
I don't want that.
I mean, you've got the round of 32 to worry about.
Cannot lie.
So. I kind of want that. I can't lie. I kind of want that actually. That would be nice. Man United versus Arsenal in the Europa League final. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, on neutral ground. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. But let's wrap it up there. And once again, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you guys for joining me as well. So of course, as we always do, gotta let you guys plug yourselves and let everybody know where they can find you. So, in typical 3inMidfield fashion, again, we go with the victors bloody first. Art, where can they find you?
Mostly on Twitter, being an idiot. So my handle's there at Art de Rocher, and that's where I post silly stuff and some articles about Arsenal. So yeah, that's that.
Obviously, and his links in the description below, as is everybody's. Colleen, can they find you?
You can find me across my handle across all socials. But if you want to see me get onto some United fans, like I've done with Kojo and Mick today, I'm on the terrace 2-3 times a week and on the Beat London 103.6 every other Saturday morning. So if you want me to disgrace United a little bit more, that's what to do.
You know what? I was about to say that radio station is pretty good when you're on this, and it is good. It is good. So you do your thing, and but don't listen for the Man United roasting. Listen because he's good. Yeah, listen for that reason.
She's good. I've seen her a couple of times on the terrace, and she does throw good punches, through uppercuts. So yeah, big up.
No, she's awesome. She's awesome. Yeah, she's awesome. The team isn't, but she is. Mick.
Yes, sir.
Where can they find you?
YouTube channel, MUFC Realist TV startup. It's been around since 6 months, 10,300 subs so far. Twitter, most likely on Ruby Red MUFC. But also, if you type in MUFC Realist TV, you will also find me on Twitter. Instagram, not really established yet. I'm just a one-man band so far. So yeah, I wish I could be 8 minimes to clone myself, but slowly getting there. So yeah, you can follow me mostly on on Twitter. Yeah.
Awesome. And myself, Kojo, 3inMidfield, on all the audios and all the socials. That's all your favorite ones, including TikTok, apparently, for some reason.
Ooh.
And and of course Spotify and the rest of that as well. And obviously here on YouTube, 3inMidfield Podcast. You type that in, you'll find us. For the last time, because someone messaged me about it, despite sending me the link to my own YouTube channel, which is very confusing. Number 3 in midfield podcast. There you go. All right. They've been great. You've been great. They're top of the league, and we're third. And, good night.